make it, or if you want to rewatch it later on. All right. Thank you all for joining. My name is Dan Louise. I'm with Underline. I'm going to just quickly pass it to Michelle to just give a little intro, and then I will get started with the training session.
So thank you everybody for coming to this training session. We appreciate your time and for being here. So just so everybody is aware, on this call, we have people who are symposium organizers, who are going to be chairs of individual sessions, and workshop organizers. So there you'll have slightly different things will be important to different people, but the general information is all going to be the same. So please feel free at any time to ask a question. If something isn't clear, you can either put it in the chat or you can just interrupt Dan and I if you have something specific. But if you put it in the chat, I'll try to answer it while he's going through the actual training session as well. So thank you for coming. We hope this helps kind of alleviate any anxieties, and please let us know if you have any questions. And I'll pass it back to Dan now.
Thanks, Michelle. And if you're not familiar with Google Meet, the chat is in the bottom right-hand corner. It kind of looks like a little talking bubble. So that's where you can go in and ask questions. But thank you, Michelle. Once again, I'm with Underline. I'm event manager with Underline. Underline is the conference platform being used to host the World Seabird Conference this year, the virtual one. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you the conference platform. I'm going to show you around what can be done and how it's going to work for the conference. And then I'll go into the how the sessions are going to work and what you need to do in order to chair your sessions. And as Michelle said, feel free to ask a question, even if you want to interrupt me. It shouldn't take long, this training. But if you want to hold them off to the end, that's fine too.
Okay.
All right, so you all should see my screen now. This is the World Seabird Conference virtual platform here on Underline. This is the reception page. This is what we call our home page. This is where you'll go to once you get your access email. Those access emails should be going out either on Thursday or Friday this week. You'll get access to the conference platform. You'll get one of two different types of emails. If you've been on Underline before, you'll get an email just inviting you to the conference, and you'll get a button that'll let you straight in. If you haven't been on Underline before, you'll be asked to confirm your account, and by that, it just asks you to input a password of your choosing. Once you do that, that confirms your account, and then you'll be taken directly into this site. And this is the page you'll come to. This is the reception page. Got a couple different parts here I'll show you. In the middle section, we have some info on the conference. There's a welcome message here from the session, from the conference chairs. And we also have some links to our funders and sponsors here on the page, so you can go ahead and check them out. On the right-hand side, this is where the announcements will be made throughout the conference. Various important announcements will be posted here throughout. So you can look for those here. Up in the top right corner, this is where your profile is. This is where once you're logged into the Underline platform, you can go ahead in here and make edits to anything. You can change your picture, your institutional affiliation, your name even, or password. This little bell icon is a notification. This is where if you have a pre-recorded talk or a poster on the platform, if somebody asks a question within that, you'll get a notification here within the system. And on the left-hand side, this is the most important thing. This is the navigation bar. This is what you're going to use to navigate throughout the platform. So I'm going to go through each one of these tabs on the side here, give you a little tour of how this site works, and then we'll go into the actual training portion of the session. So when you click on the schedule button, a schedule shows up. Surprise, surprise. And it is listed here. It's sorted by date. So if you want to select a certain date, you'll see all the sessions that occur on those particular days. And it's also sorted by time. And this time zone here on this page for me is showing up in the New York time zone. So the system will recognize which time zone you are, and it will automatically adjust the time zone to your local computer clock. On the session pages, just a quick note, on the session pages, the times are listed in UTC. So if you're ever just wondering what time it is actually supposed to be occurring in UTC, that's where you'll find that when you click in on a session. Couple other things here on the schedule page. You can also sort by track. So if you're just looking for symposium talks, you click on that, you'll see only symposiums show up in the schedule. If you're looking for poster sessions, that's where you'll click on this and you'll see the poster sessions show up as well.
Daniel, can I
Yes.
interrupt you?
Sure.
Michelle, she asked that question, and because we exchanged our email, and I just realized that because I'm in Australia, so everything is going to happen the day after of the schedule.
Yeah. So if October 4th, you can see there's nothing in here right now for me because there's no posters actually on that day, but all tracks. So these workshops that are happening at 9 a.m. New York time will actually occur at probably 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Australia time on
No,
October
that's
3rd.
fine. The trouble is when you jump the date.
The date will show up
Is
over
it?
here. An October 3rd will show up for people that, it is actually October 3rd in that day for that session. It would show up. So the dates, the system recognizes where you are in the world, and if it needs to adjust to, a different date, it will show up a different date as well.
So just to clarify, if there is a session in the evening of UTC on the 5th of October, when I open it in Australia, it will say the 6th of October on the top with the new time.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
But only when you're looking in the schedule. When you look in the
Correct.
sessions, it's going to have just the UTC time. So when you look in this particular tab, it will adjust. When you look in the tab that gives you like the more breakout of the information on who the session chair is and all the description, that one is kind of hard coded for the time it is in UTC.
That's okay, just as long as there is an easy way for me to make sure I'm attending the correct day.
Yeah.
I made my own, after I chat with Michelle, I made my own table. So then, just the UTC and the date, so that I don't get confused.
Yeah, I made a table as well for myself, but it's always good to double check these things because I think on the Excel sheet, it said the 5th of October, but it said 1 a.m. So that was actually supposed to be the 6th of October. So
yep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. A couple
Thanks,
other things
Michelle.
on this schedule page. As you hover over the different sessions on this page, you'll see that a pop-up kind of shows up. Those show the different talks or pre-recorded talks that are actually loaded within that particular session. So if you click on that session, you'll see that the talks are actually here. If you click on a talk, you'll see that there's the video is here. You can play the video down in here. And you can also look at the abstract, see who the authors are. You can also click on the main author's name here at the top. This will bring up a bio page for that particular author. I'm going to head back really quick to the schedule. There's one other thing I do want to show you in the schedule, and this might be helpful for you as well. If you know that you're part of Foraging Ecology 1 and you know that this is the right session, you'll see as you hover over each one of these sessions, there's a little calendar icon here. So if you click on this calendar icon, you'll see a drop down or a pop-up come up that there's a couple different programs. You can download a file and import this session into your local calendar on your computer so that you won't miss it. It'll show up in your calendar. That's how the schedule works. The next tab on our page, on our navigation bar, is the main stage. The main stage is not going to be overly used in this conference. We're just going to use it for the two closing sessions that will occur. This is similar to like a Zoom webinar where the attendees join in a listen-only mode, and they can ask questions through the chat, the text chat here. So it's produced, and the presenters come into our studio environment. They'll present from here, from there, and you'll see this on this page. Now, this is a little bit different than the schedule. This is our sessions tab. I like to refer to it as it's schedule-like. It's more of an exploded view of the schedule, so you don't actually have to click in on any of the actual session titles to see what's going on. This is just going to be a long list of all the sessions in date order. Uh, and as you scroll down, more sessions will start to show up. And so you can go down and look at all the different sessions that are happening here just by scrolling down. One of the other features of this page is that if you know what session you want to get to, there's a drop down here, and you could scroll down really quick and get to Conservation 4. And you'll go right to that particular session. And you'll see that the date that it's actually happening on is here, and the time here in UTC is noted. One other functionality of the sessions page is that you can search the lectures, and lectures are any of the pre-recorded content that is loaded into that has been submitted and loaded into our system. So if you're looking for anything that has to do with the let's see here, let me take a word here that maybe that you're looking for, anything that has to do with poly, and you'll see all sessions that have anything that has poly within its title would show up. You can also search by the author's name. So if you're looking for anybody, Andrew Power, if you're looking for anything that was done by Power, and you type in Power, you're probably going to get, yes, you'll get his talk come up here, and you'll be able to go in and view that here. So it has a little bit more functionality than the schedule page, so you can search the lectures, and you can use this drop down to go straight to the particular sessions. I'm going to come back to this page when we go through the portion of the session where we tell you how to share your actual session. The posters tab, this is where the posters live here on Underline. All the posters similar to the videos that are preloaded are here, and they're sorted by, there are 4 poster sessions, live poster sessions that occur throughout the conference, but they're sorted here by topic. They're here to view on demand before the actual live poster session. So you can come in here, click on a poster, the PDF will load here. You'll be able to view the PDF, zoom in on it if you want to, and you can also ask questions. You can do this both for the videos and the posters. So this is there'll be a question tab here on the right hand side. Once you ask questions in here, the authors of those particular talks or posters will get a notification up here in the right hand corner. Similar to the videos, you also have the ability to look at the abstract. You'll see the authors, and you can also click on the author name to see their bio. The Expo tab, this is similar to the reception page. This is just a little location where you can come in and look at the different sponsors and exhibitors that we have at WSC3. Some of them have created a page here on Underline. So if you wanted to go in and look at their information on their company, you can come in here, or their organization, take a look at them. They have some links. You can even request a meeting with them by clicking on that button. Some of them just have links to their website. The lounge, I'm going to show you here. This lounge button has a couple different items. One has the Gather Town Lounge. This is where we're going to do our networking, and the live poster sessions will occur. Some other activities as well. I'm going to go into that in a second. We also have links to the Twitter, and as well as the WSC Slack channel. So if you wanted to join those and follow them, you can click on those as well here. Quickly, I'll go into the help desk just to show you that there is a help desk. If you have any questions on the program itself, this is the email address to contact. If you have any questions or problems with the underlying site, this is the email to send a message to, or you can click the request a meeting button. That'll go to the same support email box for underline. You can put in your name, your email, and a short message, and we'll get back to you right away. We'll have a attendee walkthrough video that'll be loaded here, as well as a recording of this session that we're doing right now will be loaded onto the site. So if you needed to come in and take a look at that as well. We also have some supported browsers and limitations document and some instructions for the GatherTown. I'll quickly go over the supported browsers and limitations real quick. It's underlying site supports all browsers, but we've noticed that the best functionality occurs in both Google Chrome or Firefox. So if you have the ability to use Google Chrome or Firefox, that's probably going to be your best bet for the functionality of the platform. So if you're having an issue somewhere and it's not working right and you have the ability to change to a different browser, see if it works there, give that a try. I'm going to go back real quick into the GatherTown and show you that real quick. The GatherTown is what we use for our networking and a couple of other events that we'll have during the conference. Once you click, actually, let me go back. Sorry, I didn't show you the whole thing. When you click on that GatherTown button, you'll be taken to this page, this initial page. On this page, you have some things that you can do. You can, if you have multiple webcams, you can change them here, as well as microphones and speakers. You can adjust those here. You see this green box, green bar moving up and down. That means your microphone is working. You can also edit your character that you'll have within the GatherTown space. You can change the body, the clothing, accessories, hat, glasses, everything else, as well as your name. So you can add your name here as well. Once you're done doing all that, you make sure that your camera and your microphone are working. You can click the Join the Gathering button. Once you click that, you'll be loaded into the WSC GatherTown Lounge. This is a interactive networking space. As you can see, I'm moving up and down and side to side. You use your keyboard arrow keys to move around the space. So we've provided a bunch of private areas in here so that you can go and meet with other attendees and colleagues. We also have we have a beach area with some penguins down at the water. You can come and meet with other people within the conference here. It is proximity based, and what I mean by that is just like when you're in a live conference, when you get close enough to somebody, you'll be able to hear and see them. So you'll see that my video window is down here, but when I get close enough to somebody, their video window will show up here at the top, and you'll be able to hear them, and you'll be able to see them and be able to communicate with them. So if you wanted to meet with somebody, you go find a bench here on the in the beach area, and as long as you're close enough to them, you'll be able to have a conversation with them. Some of our exhibitors and sponsors will have some rooms in here. We're still in the process of building this out, but they'll have areas within the lounge so that you can meet with them in here if you want as well. We have a job searching corner up here with a whiteboard. The whiteboard is there for you to post different jobs if you have. Essentially, in the GatherTown Lounge, in order to interact with different objects, you'll see that there's a pop-up will say press X to share, to use the share whiteboard or any interactive object. You'll just hit the X button. It'll open up the whiteboard, and then you can start typing in here and utilize that. Once you close it down, that'll be saved in there, and other people can go and view what you've posted. Some of the other things that are going on in here, we'll have breakout sessions in here that will occur within this space, as well as a moving abroad session. and a games room. The games room, there's various sessions that deal with games and a scavenger hunt. This is where you'll go for those particular sessions. The live poster sessions, those happen here as well. So posters day 1 and posters day 2, this is where you would go to see the posters during those live session times. You'll come in here, you'll see that we've sorted them by Atlantic and Pacific. So at different times, the Pacific posters will have poster presenters and at certain times, the Atlantic posters will have their poster presenters at their posters. And what we mean by being at their posters, just like in a regular conference, the poster presenter will be standing next to their poster. Every time you get close enough to a poster, you'll enter into a private space for that poster. That poster now you'll be able to communicate with that poster presenter. You can also hit X. You'll be able to view that presenter's poster here within the Gather Town, and you can also communicate with them while you're looking at the poster. Like I said, as soon as you enter into this space, it is private. So even if I was standing here, I wouldn't be able to hear it. As soon as I enter into here, this is the only people that will be able to hear and see each other will be the people that are in that space. The poster presenters also have the ability to screen share. But anybody who is in that space is the only people that will be able to see that screen share going on. Some of the other functionalities of the Gather Town Lounge are there's ability to chat. So if there were other people within this lounge, you'd be able to click on them and chat to them. You can search them in this list, or you can look for them here and you can search by people's name as well. If you're looking for somebody, if there was somebody else in here, you'd be able to click on their name and then there would be a follow button and you'd be able to follow them, find them within the Gather Town Lounge. So that is the Gather Town Lounge. Does anybody have any questions on this before I leave and go back to the actual portion of this session where we teach you how to do your sessions? All right, perfect. So in order to get back to the underlying site, you can see it is a browser-based site. So you can either close that particular tab or go right back to the underlying site. Leaving that site, it does shut down your audio and video. So if you were to leave that site, you'd still be in there, but your audio and video would be disabled. So not to worry. I'll just close it for now because it does take up resources. So the main portion of this meeting is to teach you how to get into your sessions and what you need to do once you're in those sessions. You saw when I was going through this, there's 2 ways to get into your sessions. You can either go through the schedule, you know what day you're scheduled to be on. You can find it within the schedule during that way, or you can go into the sessions tab, scroll down to your session, or go down this way and find it in this list. I'm going to go into foraging ecology because I did already populate a Zoom room in here. So just to be clear, all these sessions will be happening in regular Zoom meeting sessions. So when you you find your particular session, you'll come into here, you'll see that there's a Zoom room button. The Zoom room buttons will be populated a day or 2 before the conference, and you'll be able to go into your Zoom room. So in order to run your session, you just click on the Join Zoom Room. It's going to open up Zoom. And then you'll be in here. I'm going to stop my video on here so that I can start it in here. When you come in here, you'll have access. We ask that the session chairs show up 15 minutes beforehand. What that enables you to do is to make sure that your audio and video are working, make sure that you're set up for your session. And one other thing that's going to happen is that you're going to be met by an underlying support representative. That support person is there to make sure that you're all good, as well as to assign you the host privileges for that particular session. So that means that you'll then take over that session. They'll assign the host privileges to the session chair, as well as co-host privileges if you have a technical session chair. Once you're in that session, we ask that you go into your name and rename yourself. You can go in here, rename, and put session chair after your name. You can also ask your presenters to put presenter after their name, and that's how you do that. And to run the session essentially is the technical session chair is going to be responsible for playing down the video. So the way the sessions work, you're going to go back to the underlined site. You're going to share your screen. You're going to play down the video from the underlined site. Once that video is done, you'll stop sharing. The session chair will start moderating the Q&A portion for that particular presenter's presentation. So each presenter has 15 minutes. So if most of them should be around the 12 minutes or so for their videos. So that means that they should get about 3 minutes of Q&A time. If their video is 12.5 minutes, then they get 2.5 minutes of Q&A time.
Just one thing to note, if you're a symposium organizer, you may have different timing, and that's fine. So symposium was all based on what it was that you as the organizer, how you wanted to run your session. So you may have live presentations, you may have 20-minute or 30-minute presentations, that's fine. It's the individual talks we're supposed to be 12-minute videos. We know some are shorter than that. The occasional one might be longer than that by a few seconds, but it's 15 minutes of total time that one particular presenter has.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. And so to share those videos, you just click on the share screen button and you'll find where you have actually I have to minimize this. But very important, when you do go to share your screen for the underline, to play the videos, this is more for the technical session chairs or anybody that's going to share the videos. You need to click these two buttons here within Zoom. There's one that says share sound and one that says optimize for video clip. We ask that it's probably best to share your whole screen. So once I hit share screen, you'll see that this screen comes up. And then the technical session chair will just play the video from here. They can maximize it. Oh, one of the other things before you start playing is to make sure that the captions are on. So you'll see down here in the corner, there's a closed caption button. Make sure that they're set to on, and then you can just go ahead and play the video. Once that video is done, you hit stop share. You come back into the Zoom session and you can moderate the Q&A portion of that presenter's talk. Once that Q&A session is over, you go back to the sharing of the screen, you go to the next video, and you start playing that down. So if the technical session chair wants to have multiple tabs open with all the talks, that might be easiest. So they can just right click it and open link in a new tab. They can have all the different talks open up in different tabs. Just click on the next tab, go to the video and start it and move on really quick. And that's how the sessions are going to work. Couple notes, the session, if you run over time, the Zoom session is not going to cut off right at that, when it's supposed to end. You do have time to continue to talk. So, we ask that you stay within your guidelines for your particular session, whether, if you're one of those sessions that they're all supposed to get 15 minutes, try and stick to those 15 minutes. If you go over, try and be fair to everybody, I guess. But like I said, the Zoom sessions will not end right on time. One of the things that you could do if the conversation is really intense and you really want to continue the conversation, you may ask that after the session is over, you may want to meet up in the Gather Town Lounge. That's a place where they can go and meet up and continue to talk. Does anybody have any questions on how the sessions are going to work and what you need to do in order to get in there?
Dan, could you explain one more time about this optimize button?
Yeah, so when you're in Zoom, and I'll get back into Zoom here. And you hit share screen, you'll be able to choose which screen you want to share. I have multiple screens, but I'm going to choose my second screen. But there's two buttons down below in here in Zoom. There's a share sound button as well as an optimize for video clip button. So if you're the technical session chair and you're playing down the videos, or you're the chair that's playing down the videos, make sure that you click those. If you don't click the share, optimize for video clip isn't as important as the share sound button. Without the share sound button, they'll just see moving pictures.
Yeah.
So you're going to get access to this site, like I said, on either Thursday or Friday. You can come in as soon as you get access, play around with it. The Zoom links will probably be in there closer to Sunday or Saturday. And then you could test that out as well if you want.
Daniel, yeah, did I miss something? What about live presentations?
So yeah, if you have a live presentation, and those are, I'm just going to leave the Zoom meeting right now. The live presentations, sorry, they will be noted. I don't see one in this particular session, but they are noted within some of the sessions with a tile that says live presentation. So essentially what you're going to do during that time is you're going to ask the presenter to share their screen, and they're going to present live during that time block.
And all of these presenters and everybody who's attending, they're all going to be attending through Zoom.
Correct.
Do they use this, the software you have here that sort of?
Everybody's going to enter into the Zoom sessions through the underlying platform. So they'll all be registered for the conference. They need to be registered for the conference in order to get into the site, and then find their session and get into the Zoom link through that session.
I see.
So if you can if you can come in 15, 20 minutes early to make sure that everything's working, that, like Michelle said, the support representative will be there to assist you if there's any issues.
Rob, we can see that you have your hand raised if you wanted to unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Michelle. So just to clarify that, so when you're given host privileges, what does that allow you to do that's different from what maybe the technical assistant is doing or others?
So the host privileges allows you to mute people, kick them out if you needed to. And you can assign other co-hosts if you needed to assist you. It really doesn't give you much other abilities. You can stop the recording if you wanted to, but don't do that. We want the recordings to continue.
Okay, great, thanks. And then also, Michelle, when we were talking about having recordings rather than live presentations, one of the benefits was that in case people had different bandwidths and having struggle presenting or just weren't coming through clearly, that this eliminates that. But it also only eliminates it if whoever's sharing their screen has a solid internet connection, right?
Yeah, so one of the things we do ask is that if you are the technical chair or the chair who's showing your screen, that you be on a wired connection and a stable internet connection. Ideally, you'll want to close down all of your other windows. You're not going to want to have, YouTube running in the background, or your Spotify, it's also running at the same time. You'll want to make sure that you have minimal things open on a stable internet. So not at the coffee shop, hopefully not on a ship somewhere, that you are in some place that is allowing you to have that stable internet. We've done this with other conferences. 99% of the time it's okay. But when somebody's internet does go down, there's limited things you can do. However, you can ask other people in the session to help out. Maybe somebody else can play it down. As the host, you have the ability to make other people co-hosts, or even an individual in the session can also share their screen and play down a video. So it does unfortunately happen that something happens with their internet, but most of the time it tends to be okay. But we do ask that you be on stable internet, and that it be minimizing as many things as you can that are running on your computer at that time.
Okay, great, thanks.
And Tommy, we see that you have your hand raised. If you wanted to ask a question, please feel free.
Yeah, can we, as session chairs, can we watch the pre-recorded videos before the sessions?
Anybody can, as soon as you have access to it. So as of when the email comes out, which we're hoping will come Thursday afternoon, we're just waiting on a bunch of videos to still come through. But once we have that going out on Thursday or potentially Friday morning, my time, you'll be able, anybody who is a registered delegate will be able to come in and watch these videos. And we actually encourage it. Come in, watch the videos in advance. You can start asking questions in advance if you want to. You can watch sessions that would be taking place at the same time that your session is taking place if you wanted to kind of go and watch something kind of asynchronously, so you can get a chance to enjoy the full conference.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, Tommy. Thanks. So as far as the moderating the Q&A during the Zoom sessions, you can ask people if they want to verbally ask questions. They can unmute themselves and ask questions verbally, or they can do it in the chat in Zoom. So you can monitor. I would, as a moderator, keep that chat window open as well so that you can monitor the chat. Watching the videos beforehand as a session chair is a good idea as well, because let's say you have a very shy audience and nobody wants to ask any questions, you may be able to have a few questions in your pocket for those presenters.
Another thing to note when you do go in to watch the videos within the Underline platform, on the bottom right-hand side when the video is playing, you'll have the closed captioning button, but you'll also have the ability to watch it at different speeds. So as Dan is showing you here, once you go in to play the video, you can see where it says 1 times, and you can actually watch it at different speeds. So if you're somebody who likes to listen to somebody talk really fast, you can listen to it on 2 times. If maybe somebody's accent is a bit stronger and you're having a difficult time understanding, you can slow it down. And that's where the captions are also coming in helpful. Now, these captions were sent to all of the pre-recorded presenters. They've had a chance to review them. Most of them have, not everyone has. So if the captions are very interesting, it's because they were created initially through AI. So especially when people are using scientific terms, or if they have an accent, the captions can be really bad, quite hilarious, but they can be really bad. So we have asked presenters to review their captions and make those edits, and those are still coming back to us. So we are trying to make those changes as they come back, but it is it was the onus of the presenter to make those changes as they were done in artificial intelligence. So
yeah, and another place you may find questions were asked before the actual session within each of the talks. So this Q&A panel, once a question is asked, you'll see that the questions show up here, and those will live here and all the time. So you could come in here, check all the talks before your session, say, oh, there's an interesting question that we'll bring up during the session. Go ahead, Tommy.
Sorry, another question. If there are multiple session chairs, then do we have joint administrative
Yes.
rights? Okay.
One of
Cool.
you will be the host and one of you will be a co-host, but they essentially have the same privileges.
And generally what will happen is when whoever the first one into the room, into the Zoom session, the underlying support person is going to give it to that first person. So they will become the host, and then they can assign, as Dan just mentioned, down to everybody else as co-hosts. So another thing to note is that all sessions will be recorded. So even though these videos are pre-recorded for any individual session, we're also recording the full session. So the Q&A time will be available for people to watch later, and any symposium that has a combination of live and pre-recorded, all of those will be available. It generally will take us 12 to 24 hours to put those links up because the video has to render down in Zoom, and that can take some time. So we'll be putting up the links once they've rendered and they're ready, but you'll just be able to go back to a session that had previously occurred, and there'll be a link that you can click to watch the full session. Michelle, does the chair need to organize the recordings? So the recordings are being put into the order of how they're supposed to be presented. So if you go into Foraging Ecology, you can see that there's the 8 videos that are right there, and they're already in the order that they should be. We do have people who are unfortunately withdrawing because things have come up and they may be out at sea right now. So we're trying to make those edits as we can, but they should be in the order already that they need to be presented. When it comes to the live talks, that will be the symposia are the only ones that have that, and the symposium organizer will know which order that they would like their talks to be. So they already know who is presenting at what time. And again, we are putting them in the order where we'll have that tile that it will say presenting live. So they should be able to kind of tweak to say, okay, this person is presenting next. No, you don't need to click record in Zoom. That is happening automatically. So as soon as the Zoom room opens, which is part of the reason why those links aren't going live right away, as soon as somebody clicks join Zoom session, it starts recording. So if we put them in too early, then if you have people who are testing, we could have 15 recordings of a minute long.
And Francis, the questions coming into the private chat line, know that the chat will be open to everybody, so the chair and everybody else will be able to see what questions are coming in. Go ahead, Francis.
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Sure, yes.
This screen here shows the talks in order. You've done your first one. Do you continue to share screen and pop back to here and click the next one, or do you stop sharing?
You stop sharing, you do the Q&A for that particular presenter. Then the technical session chair will reshare again, come back here to play the video, then stop share, go back to Zoom, do the Q&A.
So Q&A will be very much like a Zoom meeting where we're all there face to face.
Correct.
And the chair. Okay. And can you at a glance see how long each one is? Because you said some were less than 12 minutes, some were 12 and a half. Because for a chair, you really like to know the slots you've got to fill in Q&A.
Right. You can go in and take a look at each video. Once you get access to the site, you'll be able to go in, click on it. You'll see that this particular talk's only 9 minutes long.
Right. Okay.
So this person is going to get 6 minutes of Q&A time, or that's 6 minutes that you need to fill.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It's a good question, because you do not want to start on to the next one until that 15 minutes is up, because some people may be jumping from session to session, figuring that they want to come in and see this second talk. They know they have 15 minutes to go somewhere else maybe, and they know that this talk is supposed to start 15 minutes into the session. So if you wanted to go into each one, check out, write down how long each one is, and then how much time each Q&A session should be. A good question, Jenna. Yeah, so essentially, yes, the session chair should introduce the presenter, or just introduce the talk. You can mention the talk title and the presenter's name, and then go to the share screen and play down that video. When you get back from the shared screen, you stop sharing your screen, you say, okay, and now this particular presenter is here to answer any questions that you may have on their talk.
Can you just clarify, again, I've heard a couple, I think I've heard the session host or chair has control over, but it has control over selecting each of the talks and initiating the videos or the live presentation and then shutting that down and going on to the next one. You keep mentioning the technical assistant will do something. Is the session host going to be doing all of the selecting and the starting and the stopping, or when you say a technical assistant, is somebody else going to be helping with that, or are they just there in case there's a problem?
John,
So
I think
John,
you go ahead, Michelle. I think
yeah,
you're alone.
So John, because you're a symposium organizer, you are the only chair that's in that session. You can definitely bring somebody in to help you. The technical chairs were specific for individual sessions. So individual talk sessions, we do have a session chair and an a technical chair for sessions that have a lot of videos. If there's only, say, 3 or 4, then there generally is only one chair. But when you are a symposium organizer, you are the chair. You're the one who will manage the flow, manage the videos, but you are welcome to have somebody, maybe a postdoc in your lab or somebody who can come in, who's already registered for the conference, who can help you, and you can assign them a co-host duty if you'd like.
What are you doing, Michelle?
Hopefully by that point, nothing.
All right. Thank you.
So when we enter the Zoom room, someone from Underline is going to make us the host. Will the people who are giving the talks also be there, like with their video, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody joins with muted, but with their video able to be on. The video won't be on, but they can turn their video on.
Okay, got it. So when we join, we can chat with the presenters just to make sure that we're pronouncing names correctly and everything.
Yeah, I believe Michelle's going to send out a note to the presenters to ask them to join 15 minutes ahead of schedule as well, so that you can make sure that everybody's there and coordinate and get the session set up before the actual session starts.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so the email has gone to the individual speakers already, and we've asked them, I think it was about 10 minutes, we asked them to join. So you as the session chair will arrive 15 minutes early. That gives you a few minutes to get yourself situated and have everything handed over from the Underline support person. And the individual speakers were asked to join 10 minutes before. So again, you can go through those questions, make sure everybody's there, ask how to pronounce their name, and you're ready to go at that point.
Ask them to put presenter after their name as well within the Zoom session, so that people see that they're there.
And I'm not sure who raised their hand first, but I'll go with Francis.
It was just from my experience of doing this before. I don't know if people think this is a good idea, but there's always that dreaded pause at the end where people are either thinking about putting something in the chat or thinking about raising their hand. And I've said to people, put your question in the chat as soon as you can think of it. That's great for the chair because then they've got a couple that are ready, but it's great for the questioner as well because they're going to get picked because they're first up. I wonder if there's a little message we can, if people think that's a good idea, message to encourage people to put their questions in the chat before the talk finishes.
You could put that in the chat, or you could also, mention that at the start of your session to everybody.
Yeah. Okay, I'll certainly do that. I just think others have a think about that because I found that was quite useful because it meant that you got going with the Q&A straight away, which was helpful for the momentum of the Q&A.
Yeah, Francis, I think that's a great idea. And also, if for some reason it's distracting to the presenters, what I've also mentioned to people is to type their questions in during the talk and just hit return soon after or toward the end of the presentation. So they all start populating right away. And hey, John, in terms of help, you know, I guess I'm kind of expecting for the symposia that the co-organizers would be the technical and chair team so you should have help from your other organizers.
I think John is the full organizer. I think he doesn't have any co-conveners with him on his session.
You did originally. What happened to him?
Well, let's see. One retired. One is MIA. And the other is Bill Seidemann. So he doesn't know it yet, but yeah, he's going to be helping.
Okay. Yeah. And those of us who are participating in that, I mean, you could grab us to help and do those roles too.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
As long as I'm not doing something else. I think I'm signed up to chair another session, but I'll adjust that if needed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. And so I had a question though. It's like, Francis, hi. Nice to see you. But I was wondering, with regard to your thing about the message or questions, putting messages on the chat, the chat's going to be disappearing with every talk, right? I mean, once the talk's over and we exit, the chat will disappear, or it stays up and sort of just keeps carrying on?
So John, the Zoom session will happen for the entire 2-hour block. So you're going to be in the Zoom session for the entire time. So that means the chat will stay there for that whole 2-hour block of time.
I see.
What won't carry over in the recording is the chat. So the recording will just have the videos, the faces that are talking or the videos that are being played, but the chat won't continue through there. But when you're actually in the 2-hour session, now you have 3 different blocks of 2 hours. You actually, in that way, you'll have 3 different Zoom sessions. So you will have 3 2-hour blocks that you will be in. So the questions won't run from the first session all the way to the very last session. Those won't be consistent all the way through. They'll just be consistent with each block that you have.
Whose idea was that to have 3 sessions?
You're just too popular. Too many people want to talk about heat waves. Go ahead, Francis.
Yeah, so it was just to say hi to John, and that retirement really isn't an excuse for not taking part, and to pass that message through. No, my main question was about the Slack channel. Is that structured whereby you have the sessions, so the symposia, the general sessions laid out to encourage people to continue discussing after the session? Is it done in that way, the Slack channel, as I've seen before? So then the speakers have said, look, could you guys hang around if possible? There might be some more questions in the Slack. Is it just more of a free-for-all?
Yeah, the Slack channel's been set up more as a free-for-all, but anybody can create their own channel. So if you wanted to create a channel for your symposium, you could say, I can't remember what your symposium title is, I'm sorry, but you could go in there and you could create a channel specifically for, session, I think you're either 3 or 13. So you could say like Symposium 13 discussion or something. So you could continue that way if you'd like. The Slack channel, we're trying something out because I know that Grant Humphreys has tried to get some Slack channels going for World Seabird in the past that haven't taken off. This was more as a way just for people to communicate informally throughout the conference. If they had a job posting they wanted to post, or they're looking for a job. So there's a couple different channels that have been pre-populated, but it is meant to be free form and to let people take the conversation wherever they'd like to take the conversation.
Thanks.
And as I mentioned earlier, if they wanted to continue the conversation in the Gather Town, that's another avenue that they could use to go in and actually physically see visually see somebody and talk to them.
Great. Andre, you wanted to ask a question?
Well, now become 2 questions after Francis' comment. Well, first, I was going to ask Rob if he'd like to be my technician, but it looks like he has his fingers in all sorts of pies. But my first question is, there are some technicians missing here in the list. Is there a work in progress, or we flying solo here?
So any symposium and workshop, you're flying solo. If you are an individual session chair, we are still working on it. I believe Rob is still working on trying to get additional people. So if you have a great postdoc who wants to volunteer, we are still looking for certain individuals.
Well, I have postdocs.
They tend to be really good technical chairs.
No, you said great. I was qualifying that. But what was my second one? No, joking. It's pretty good people. My second one is if you create this room, how do you call this, chat room or whatever? Can you create one and put a link in the chat?
So are you talking about in the GatherTown environment, like a place for you to go after, or a Slack channel?
Oh,
so either. So if you were, if you wanted to have further conversation at the end of your session, you can ask everybody just to join the GatherTown, and that's linked through that networking tab, the one that looks like a coffee cup on the left-hand side of the underline screen. So you could just go into underline or go into GatherTown and meet up in one of the private rooms, and you could have that further conversation. So that's one. So you could.
Sorry, my question was, can you create that in advance? So at the end of your 2 hours, whatever, so you can say, if you want to continue this conversation, click on this link and we go in this nice room somewhere.
Yeah, so within the GatherTown environment, you just go into GatherTown and go into any of these little private spaces that Dan is moving his avatar into. So you can do that at any time. You don't need to have a separate link. It's just a space within the GatherTown platform. If you wanted to do your own Zoom link, you could definitely say, here's my own, like, here's my Teams link, or here's my Zoom link. Let's go meet over here to continue the conversation. You can totally do that if you wanted to as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you mind just clicking in Slack so we can see what it looks like?
So I think that all that's in there right now is myself and Grant.
But it's mainly just a text form, isn't it? It's
a
text
style.
Yeah. So you can write a question and it's like a discussion, text discussion, isn't it?
It is. Now you can join. There is a way that you can have video conversations within Slack, but I don't know if there's a maximum number of people that you can have on a Slack video call. I don't know that off the top of my head, to be honest.
I think I like your suggestion to create a Zoom meeting and people can join in.
Yeah, it's whatever you'd like to at the end of your session. If people still want to have that conversation, the GatherTown environment works quite well. You can have, I mean, I've seen groups of about 20 people in a private room having a further conversation, but whatever is comfortable for you and what you'd like to do for your group. But within Slack, yes, it tends to mostly be, Francis, a text-based environment where you are continuing conversation through messaging, essentially. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, just to clarify, so after a session, and tell people to go to the conference room. How do you? I mean, you assign, you say, let's meet in, and there's all these different rooms there, and it's very cool, but and it's like a conference center. But how do you all know to go to which room?
Well, you can ask people to follow you and just say, I'm going to go put myself in a room, and then just use the location, how you can actually find somebody. So if you went to Dan's name, for example, if I were to go in there, I could say, find Dan, or whatever the term is, I can't remember, it would actually draw a pathway to get from wherever you are to wherever that individual is. To be honest, I'm not sure how often people are going to continue the conversation, because most of our sessions, they have a session and a 15-minute break, and then they go straight into the next session. And then at the end of that goes into a poster session. So there's not a lot of time where there might be free time for discussion. It may happen for sure.
But even, I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, but we could say, if anybody's interested in talking about this more, we can meet at X time. later on. And, just if you want to show up at this, the conference room, I'll be there. And if
Yeah.
you'd like to chat. And if not, then I'll just have a beer by myself. So if you go in there and they can look for you by name, they'll find you in there.
Yeah, so you can see that Dan has just registered himself a second time. So one Dan is trying to find the other Dan, and you can see that there's a black line between one and the other. So you can actually follow that path. And so you could say, join me in Gather Town. I'll be in one of the meeting rooms. And then people could go, okay, search for John. And then, so locate on map. And then they would show you which meeting room you were in, and you'd be able to find them that way.
Okay. I'm thinking.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll just say I'm just thinking this might be fun for just outside of talk periods and just wandering around trying to find people.
Yeah, and so we do have some social events that are have been created that Grant Humphreys and the social or the virtual committee have been working on. So we've got things like games and a scavenger hunt, and I think there's a conference bingo. I can't remember what else we have. Moving abroad sessions. So if you wanted to learn about how to move to Europe and you live in Africa. So there's all sorts of different social events that are already taking place. And this is a great, we can never replicate a actual face-to-face conference, but this is as close as we can get to bumping into somebody by the coffee station. This is the best chance you have of doing something like that. Go ahead, Francis. I think you had a question.
Yeah, it was just about how crazy is this Gather Town world. So do you have actual meeting rooms, and there's 3 down in the bottom left-hand corner. So you go there and they're all full. So tough luck. Or are there an infinite number of meeting rooms because this isn't the real world?
Yeah, the space is, a certain size, but there are plenty, there's those private meeting spaces here. There's 6 of them here. Some of these bigger rooms will be taken up by our exhibitors and sponsors, but not all of them will be filled. And then you have this infinite beach area that you can go to and, find a space, and you just need to be close to somebody.
Okay, so if John's on the beach and I make a beeline to him, I can't sort of hit hyperspace and I'm right next to him. No. And he might see me coming and think, actually, I don't want to talk. God, he bored me senseless yesterday. I'm going to run as fast as I can, pretending I'm need the loo or something. I mean,
that's where John will just shut off his microphone and camera and pretend he's not there.
Okay.
He's not on that tab.
So he hits the hyperspace.
Right.
Okay. So it's quite real then. It's quite real in that sense.
Yeah, and as you're kind of walking around, so if I'm walking my avatar around in the space and I start to get close to Dan, I'm going to start to see his camera turn on. And if I actually don't want to see Dan, I'm going to move my arrows as fast as I can the other way so that we don't have that connection. If when you go in here and it's too busy and you're making too many connections and you're just trying to get from one place to another, you can actually put your avatar into quiet mode. And I think, Dan, it's on the bottom section where your name is. So if you go into quiet mode, what that means is you're not going, your bubble isn't as big and you're not going to have the connections as you walk through the space. It's like as if you were just like, I'm going to look at my phone and walk and not make eye contact with somebody. So you can turn on quiet mode if you don't want to have the connections as you're trying to get from one place to another.
You can also sneak up on someone, can't you?
Yeah.
You sneak up and listen in on conversations. They won't know you're there.
Jenna, there'll be a video that's being released for all of the general delegates that will go through most of these things. We don't have the ability to host 600 people on a call at the same time. So there is a video that will be released when we announce that the access is now available. So Thursday or Friday morning, depending on when the system is ready to go, there will be the video that basically walks you through almost everything we did here today. Maybe not as much on the how to chair a session, but here's how you navigate the platform. And this is what GatherTown looks like. And this is what's going to happen in there. Poster presenters have their training tomorrow. So anybody who's presenting a poster is going to have a bit more information on how to do it within GatherTown. So their training is happening a few different times tomorrow.
And I skipped through it because I've been in GatherTown a million times, but the first time that you do go into GatherTown, there is a short tutorial that it will guide you through on how different things work, not in this particular space, but in general how GatherTown works.
Also, that video that will be for attendees will be in that help section. So when we go back to the Underline platform, there's the help section, and it's going to have the video for the attendees. We're actually going to post the chair video in there. So we're going to send out the link to the recording as well, so you can watch it, but we will also put it in here so that you'll be able to kind of go quickly, oh, right, how do I do this? And you can go and pull up the video quickly, as well as the instructions on how to use the GatherTown, which supported browsers. And I believe, Dan, we're also going to put the chair instructions, which we have in a PDF document, will also be in this help section. So it's kind of a resource location if you have any questions kind of technically related. And then you do also have the Underline support people that you can reach out to if it's something specific, like I can't hear anything, or whatever it might be. Did anybody have any other questions specific to chairing or their session that you might have? Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I just want to go back to the schedule. So the Excel spreadsheet that we got doesn't have any of the specific talks in it, with sort of like a breakdown of what time the talk should start and stop. Are you going to be providing sort of like a high resolution schedule like that in PDF that's easier for chairs to manage, or?
Yeah, so I am in the process of creating that kind of detailed program that will say, this is the session on, I don't know, foraging ecology, and here's all of the various talks that are in there. So it'll be, here's the title, here's the authors, and then the next title, the next author, it will be the whole listing of everybody who's scheduled in the order that they should be presenting.
Right. I feel like it's important to help us keep time.
Yeah, so all of that will be included. It's a constantly moving beast as people keep changing, withdrawing and adding, and so it's a little bit later than we would have liked, but yeah, hopefully it'll be up. I'm not sure it'll be up tonight, to be honest. It might be tomorrow morning.
That's okay, just as long as there's something coming and I don't have to make it myself.
No, you definitely don't have to make it yourself. It is coming. It will be up on the website, and it will be coming in the email that goes out on Friday. It will also be hyperlinked in there.
Thank you.
John,
go ahead, John.
Yeah, so that reminded me that, so two of the sessions we have are Pacific sessions on the Pacific time frame, which is really great for us here in the Pacific, East West Coast. But the other one is early morning, and the Atlantic, we had some Atlantic presenters, but not too many. And anyway, as you know, we chose the second hour of the potential morning sessions for at least it's early morning here in the Pacific. And so, but we chose the second block, not the first one, because it didn't have enough to do two blocks. So that whole first hour or first 2 hour block we're not presenting anything in this session. But I'm wondering about the sort of so for that whole period, there's nothing from us going to be happening. Is the session still being noted as starting, that hour early, or is it just been starting for the block that we identified?
So I think, John, what we've done is we've assigned you 2 Pacific blocks and 1 Atlantic block, and your Atlantic time is in the second half of the Atlantic times. So if you look in the first half of the Atlantic times, there are other sessions that are taking place. Okay. So it doesn't show that Symposium 6 has nothing going on. It just doesn't show Symposium 6 at that time period. It'll show, I don't remember who else is in there, but let's say Symposium 4, Symposium 5, and 2 individual blocks. It won't show Symposium 6 at all. So as Dan is scrolling through, it's showing that, one of the Symposium 1 and Symposium 3 are at 10 o'clock on this day, but then they maybe aren't until the next day. Maybe they have another session. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I just had nightmare flash that I might have to get up at like 4 or something. Be there for 5.
No, I think we have you starting at 7:15 in your early morning.
Decent time. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to either type them in or, verbally ask them if you have any other ones. If you don't have any other questions right now, but something else comes up later, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I can do my best to answer any questions. And if not, I can bring Dan in if it's something that's beyond my capacity. But we're still here. If you have any other questions, I'm still free for a while. So.
That's all I had. Thanks very much. This has been super helpful, and it's good to see everyone. I guess we'll see you all next week too.
Yes, thanks very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye. See you next week.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks. I know where you live.
Just across the pond, right?
Yes. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.